It is water testing, water change day. So what I do is I write on my book here the tank that I'm going to be testing, my 29 tall, the long, the 5 gallon, the 10 gallon, the 1 gallon, which are all in this room, with the master test kit, pH, high range, ammonia, so on and so forth. I abbreviate those along the lines: ITE, ATE, because a lot of people confuse those along with myself. We're also testing for the 6-in-1 test strips. We're going to be testing for these here. Now, what I love about this, there's no fakeness here. I'm not waiting until my tanks are perfect quality, great, and then testing them and showing you how excellent they are. I'm showing you how to build a tank up, starting from cycling with all the issues that come with it, to already cycled with the ups and downs that come with the tank. Keeping fish can be easy, but a lot of work at times. Sometimes you get stuck with things you don't imagine and problems that take place with having a fish tank. So we'll be testing for multiple things to see where I have issues at. Some of the areas I already know. I know some of these tanks struggle with ammonia, and I have been building on lowering the ammonia in some of these tanks. Some of these tanks have a pH issue. I never chase the pH. Fish will adapt to your pH level. After a certain amount of time, your pH will become stable and in a beneficial area for your fish. So we're going to be testing for a lot of different things and seeing what has to improve. Now there's some testing stuff that I don't have here because it's in storage right now with moving. So things like cage and general hardness and stuff like that I don't have with me, but I know some of those, like the cage, is a problem that I'm having with my cycling fish tanks. Probably wondering why you're looking at a straw. I'm about to teach you a little hack. A lot of people would take these and scoop them in and try to get that perfect level of, let's see, see that number 5 there? There's a 5 on there. Can't get it really to adjust. Let's see. Right there. There you go. A lot of people struggle with getting it to that water line right there. The straw you stick into the fish tank. Come on. Focus. There we go. Get it into the fish tank. Take your finger, block off the air. When you pull up, it has water. All you have to do is drag it over into your tubing section. So we line up our testing strips, our tubing, and I advise you, these are plastic tubings. Those plastic ones that come with, I believe it's API or whatever they're called, those, not plastic, they're glass. Those are very terrible. They fall and they break very easily, and you don't want to get stuck without any of testing tubings, and then your fish start acting up or dying or whatever the case, and then you have nothing to test your water. Go on Amazon, right? Go on Amazon. Go to plastic testing tubes, aquarium, or whatever the case may be. A bunch of different types like these will pop up, and they come in bundles, and they're pretty cheap. It's worth the money. Now we're looking at the 29-gallon tall tank, and it's nice crystal clear. A lot of that has to do with that sponge filter right there. It will be becoming clearer and clearer over time once I get my bottle water filter back inside of this tank or make a new one for it. probably be making a new one for it so that you guys can see the process of how to make one of those. So in this tank, we have 4 Cory cats. Those are bottom feeders. They help keep the bottom nice and clean. We have 2 plecos in this tank. They'll be moving soon. 2 gouramis, a beta, and Zombie the Dojo Loach, with 2 mollies. Our other molly who was in here, who somehow got his lip ripped off and his tail shredded, was put into quarantine and then later passed away. That goes, it's part of the hobby. So let's start testing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a long video. Stick around. I'm going to try to cut a lot of this out. So what you do with your liquid testers, your liquids, you want to shake them for a good 30 seconds. Some people will say 30 minutes, but come on, who's going to sit there shaking this for 30 minutes? You only need about 30 seconds of just shaking them all so that it mixes around. Nothing, all the vitamins or whatever they is used to give the color to water ain't just sitting at the bottom. Just shake it up very good. I just like to grab them all in my hand and just like shake them all crazy for a good 30 seconds. Look how my fish are looking at me. They're like, what's wrong with this guy? I have not fed any of them yet. I love to do testing before feeding, and I like to do, once I test, then I do a feeding, and then I do a water change. Sometimes I'll do the feeding after. I just don't like dirtying the water after a water change. Now once we get our water into our containers, I separate them so that I won't knock them down. And we're going to be starting off with our pH. Going from this section to this section over there. So on these testers, it'll tell you what they are and the solution of them, and they come with a measurer. So you see over here, this is the pH, and you see this line that I draw. Most fish are between a 6.6 and a 7.8. Depending on the species of your fish, some might like a higher pH or a very lower pH. Then it'll show you this weird little thing that says add a teardrop or a drop with a number on there. And there's how many drops you're putting into your tubing. So you come here, 1, 2, 3. Then we go get our lid, tighten it up. Then you want to shake it. Just shake it up. Now, remind you, pHs in some of my tanks are not great, but I try to keep them stable. That will change color as it sits. Let it sit for a good 30 seconds to about a minute. Sometimes it takes a little longer for it to grab the color of your aquarium. That's a better view for you guys. Next, we're going to go with our high range pH. Now you see that's still pretty yellow, which is really a 6.0, which is bad for this tank who has been up for so long. Reason for that is my KH. My KH is no good due to my tap water. So a lot of chemicals have to go in to keeping these fish alive, but they've been in this for so long, and the pHs have stuck between 6.0 to a 6.6 that they're kind of used to it, and it doesn't harm them in a way. Now we have the high range, 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have the ammonia. Ammonia, you actually have 2 solutions. You need to use both of them in the same container, the same tubing. So you have your bottle number 1, you're adding 8 drops, and your bottle number 2, you're adding 8 drops as well. Both of these go into the same tubing. So this is where my issue is going to be. is going to be with my ammonia levels. I'm constantly doing water changes to keep them down. But seeing that I have this many fish in this tank that are pretty big fish, a lot of waste is happening in this tank. And now that the bottle filter is not in there, the ammonia is going back to those high numbers of 1.0 ppms and sometimes even 2.0 ppms. I did a water change about 4 to 5 days ago, and I had about 4.0 ppms, which is bad. You want an area of 0 ppms to 25 ppms. Now, a big reason why my ammonia goes up so high is because of KH issues and my general hardness of the tank, which I'll be teaching you in the future how to solve those issues. You see how dark it's getting right now, and it will continue to darken up the more it sits here. But that's why we're doing the water change today. If I can stay consistent with the water change, that ammonia won't be a huge problem. Next, we're going with this one here. We shake it up. Now, a professional will look at these levels of water and will laugh at them. 70% of people who are keeping fish tank in their homes are having troubles in their fish tank every single day. They're having high ammonias, they're having low pHs, their tank is crashing, the cycle starting over. A lot of these professionals are going through the exact same thing, because you cannot contain fish in a box, live creatures, and expect it to be perfect. Like taking a jailhouse, filling it up with 100,000 people, and expecting the prison to be perfect. It's not going to work. That's not how it works. We're playing the role of God. We're sticking something in here and we're controlling it and trying to make it perfect, which is not going to happen. What we have to do as fish keepers is to try to keep it similar, the same, and twisting it and dialing it down to where the fish are okay, they're healthy, and they're looking fine. Every fish in here is fine right now, and they've been fine for a really long time. This is the next one, 10 drops. So that's why I made this channel, so that I can show you these issues of ammonia, pHs, KH, general hardness, nitrates, and so on and so forth, and feeding and breeding, and how to take care of snails and remove them and hatch them, so on and so forth. It's because I'm no different than you, and you're no different than the viewer, and many people who are watching the channel and other YouTubers. A lot of YouTubers hide fish loss. They hide issues in their tanks and problems that they're having, so that they can look perfect and their fish tank looks perfect. And a lot of times fish will die and they won't even tell you or even show you, and you won't even realize it because they're dropping so much content that you don't even realize that fish went missing, unless you're a true diehard fan of that channel. So here we go. My biggest issue is this one right here. Ammonia is really, really bad for your fish and can cause a lot of issues. So this tank is getting a big water change today. So pH, we really don't have any. It's a 6.0, which is really bad. And we'll be improving that in this video and in the future with crushed coral, and there's other things you can do to get the pH up. General hardness, my general hardness is perfect. You want a 7.4 to 7.8 depending on species of fish. You don't really want to get down there in those levels, but that's the perfect area right there for this tank. Got ammonia. My ammonia level is terrible. You can see it. Look at that. That's a good 8.0 ppm. That's sad to even show. This is one that you really need in your tank, and I have perfect levels of 0 ppms. Here goes another one right here. Don't mind my snail shells and all this junk over here. I'm right in that 40 ppm mark. This water change will reduce that. This tank is a tank that's been running in this room for over 3 years. It had its up and downs. I had these levels at one point so perfect it was ridiculous. Perfect pH, high range pH, ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, KH, you name it. It was perfect. I had multiple fish coming in and out of this tank because this tank for me is a grow out tank. I get fish, they get pretty large in here. They get pretty large and they move into bigger tanks as time comes. Like the plecos, the dodgerloach, the ramies. Those are fish to get decent size and they upgrade into other tanks. And that will be coming in the future. So this is tank number 1. I will write these levels down in my notebook. And I use the notebook to judge what the water change was from a week from now, a couple days from now. So if I go and look now, I did a water change about 4 days ago. My pH was the same, high range was the same. My ammonia went up. I went from a 2.0 to an 8.0. Ammonia is always going to go up and down in your tank. These two are, well, this one was the same and this one went up a little. I got to get it back down to that 10-point mark where I was at. Now we're on to our 5-gallon. I was going to go to the other, the 29 long, but we're going to go to that one last, I guess. So now we're testing this one here. Now with this tank, I had no issues with this tank. Cycling, I had no issues with it. Water perimeters. And I haven't tested this tank in a while because of it being so perfect. This tank is running without a filter. It just had got some beneficial bacteria and stuff like that in it, and it set for about a week. And the cycle blew up. It was perfect. So I haven't tested in a while. So we're testing it today and see if it improved. Has it got worse? Did it crash? What is it looking like? Now, I'm expecting it to be the same. The only thing I'm expecting to be up a little bit is maybe the ammonia. But then again, not. There's only a beta in here and 2 snails. And a couple of cherry shrimps. So there's not much damage we can really do. And that's why smaller tanks do well without filters. There's only an air bubbler and a heater in here. I'm putting the tops on all the tubings now after I dripped in. The snail you're looking at right now is the male of the tank. He likes to play tag a lot, if you know what I mean. He already had his wife in there lay a couple eggs for me. We'll be hatching them. They're in incubation right now. Let's see what our water perimeters in this tank look like. I like how the pH is already showing up as a blue, which is great. Let those sit for a second. This tank here will be going through an upgrade soon. So I'm not too, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not too worried about this tank. The beta will be coming out of here. The snails will be coming out of here. More plants will be added. I think I'm going with a substrate for shrimps. More plants, and I'll be stacking it with a couple cherry shrimps, probably like 20 of them, and letting them just breed ape in here. And probably as they breed, removing some of the bigger ones over to the other tank that I have setting up for them. So our perimeter on this tank look pretty well. We have a pH of 6.6 is where it's beneficial for the fish and stuff in here. My hardness is, well, my high range pH is a 7.4. My ammonia is about 50 ppm, so a water change today will lower that right into the 25s. My ITE is a little dark. It's in that 25 range, almost into that 50 ppm. My ATE, it's fine. It's about, I would say, a 10 ppm. So right in the middle. This tank, like I said, I don't really worry about this tank. It does very great. We're now at our 10-gallon tank. Testing this one now. This tank has had its up and downs. This tank literally just finished cycling no more than 8 months ago. The only fish that had been in it was this beta. The plecos is being housed here for now until his tank finished cycling in my basement. And 10 guppies I purchased from a website that had fungus. A few of those died. I got that in videos if you want to see it. The rest of them went into quarantine and they survived. And they're in my guppy community tank, and some of them even bred already. Like I said, guys, it's going to be a long video. Please support it. Watch it. It helps out. Let's say you have a fish tank that's already been up for a minute, but you're struggling. You're going through that struggle of pH, of having pH problems. What are some of the things you can do to get your pH back up? pH is a dangerous thing to mess with. The reason why I say that is your fish can go into shock if you continue to play with the pH and have it going up and down way too quick. A 6.0 to 6.6, that can kill your fish. A big jump like that can. It can kill your fish, and it sometimes does kill your fish. So, how do you use crushed coral? You can add small amounts into your hanger back filters or your sponge filters, or in a little sack bag, and keep testing it every couple of days, giving it time to raise. And let's say after a week of testing it, you see that it only went up. Let's say you were sitting at a 6.4 and your tank needs a 7.8. Let's say you got some cichlids or something. You need that more higher pH level. You add it, it goes up just a little bit. You do a water change, and then you add a little bit more crushed coral, and it gets you to where you're at. I will pull the crushed coral out at that time. And then continue with the testing to see if it drops or continues to rise. What is another way of raising pH? Baking soda. Baking soda, a teaspoon for a 5-gallon tank will benefit and raise your pH. I suggest removing the fish into a holding tank or a quarantine tank while playing around with pH levels, so like that when you get it to where you need it, you can introduce the fish by slowly drip acclimating the fish to the tank and seeing what happens. So baking soda is another good way to raise pH. Also, you have to be careful with the baking soda though, because it will raise other areas of your fish tank like KH, which goes into that ammonia and other beneficial bacteria. 10-gallon tank is actually looking very good. It's looking very good. pH is at that 6.6 mark, which is not bad. It's in that range where it's beneficial for these fish. High range is great. My ammonia is great. The ITE is great, and my ATE is great. It's darkening up just a little bit, but it still looks perfect. I might not even need to do a water change on this one because I did one just a couple of days ago. Now you're probably thinking, well, why is your pH low in the first place? Maybe a big reason is too many fish in your fish tank because of CO2 issues. Carbon dioxide, driftwood tanning. Those things causes your pH to drop. Carbon dioxide. So right now on my channel, I have a thing that I'm doing called hot rodding your filtration, meaning making your filters better and getting rid of that carbon. Carbon is just there to remove harmful chemicals and metals from your fish tank along with ammonia. It does not help in a huge way. My favorite tank right about now. Why is this? Because it just looks stunning, and I'm working on the cycle very, very slowly, taking it step by step. So this tank set for about 3 months. Just set here with just water in it, the filter, that's it. Building beneficial bacteria slowly and carefully with adding some of my own beneficial bacteria to the tank itself. Then I added this here because objects in your tank, the beneficial bacteria that's growing and feeding in your tank will latch on to things like this. Then I added the sand, the rocks, and the plants within a couple days period. Then I added this right here is a homemade filtration system. It's a water pump with a water bottle, polyester filling, which helps clarify water and pick up off the debris that's in your tank, like poop and so on and so forth. And then media filter media. The next step with this tank is adding the heater. Oh, I forgot about the lighting. Added the lighting too. The next step is adding the heater to this tank. So that it can start to heat up. Now don't be worried about getting an extra drop or two into the vials. It's not going to harm it in any way. It's not going to change the aspect. People will tend to chase numbers on their fish tank, and that's something you don't want to do. Let your fish tank do its thing. Allow it to just build over time. Just make sure you stick with your weekly water changes. Sometimes you need 2 water changes in 1 week. Sometimes you don't. Test, I say at least every 2 weeks. But that depends on your ammonia level. If you're struggling like my 29-gallon tall tank, I'm going to do 2 water changes a week and constantly be testing it twice a week until that gets down. Now, if the water changes don't seem to be helping, that's telling me that something else is wrong with the tank. Now, what else can be a cause to a high ammonia? Well, not enough beneficial bacteria in your tank. I just added the wrong one in here. That happens. Let me go dump this out. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to dump it. I have extra tubing right here. So pH has definitely grew in this tank. I had a 0 pH in this tank cycling. Now I'm up a lot higher than what I was. That's about, what to say, 6.8. I think that's a 6.8, guys. This thing works magic. The range is great. Ammonia is still an issue in this tank, and that's due to the KH. I already know how to fix that. This one right here is a problem. And this one right here is a problem. So we tested all the tanks except the I didn't do the 1 gallon on camera because I was seeing how long the video actually going, and you guys are probably not even gonna go past 20 minutes. So the moral of the story is, testing your water is good to see where you're at, but you don't want to chase a number. You want to let things happen naturally, but there's things that you can do to benefit your fish tank, like sponge filters and stuff like that, to help with certain areas in your tank. Thanks for watching. Thanks for viewing. Stay tuned for the upcoming video to show you how to boost pHs, get rid of ammonia, so on and so forth. Thanks, guys.